You know, we all talk about creating a supportive learning environment, but what does that actually look and feel like on a random Tuesday morning? Well, in this explainer, we're going to build a concrete blueprint to turn that big, abstract idea into your daily practice.
Okay, let's dive right in with a fundamental question. If you strip everything else away, the curriculum, the fancy tech, the class size, what is the one thing that has the biggest impact on how well a student learns?
Well, the research is just overwhelmingly clear on this. John Hattie's landmark work tells us it all comes down to this: the relationship between the teacher and the student. And it's not just about being nice, it's about building a productive, trusting connection that really becomes the foundation for everything else that happens in that room.
So here's our roadmap for today. First, we'll nail down exactly why this culture stuff matters so much. Then, we'll look at 4 key behaviors that you'll actually see students doing in a supportive classroom. After that, we're going to open up the teacher toolkit and get into some really practical strategies. And finally, we'll talk about how you can make all this success visible. Actually see that it's working.
So let's start with the why. A strong classroom culture isn't just a bonus, it's not just a nice to have. It is the absolute foundation that all real academic achievement is built on. Without it, even the most amazing lesson plans can just fall flat.
Now, here's what's so interesting. A supportive culture isn't about making everything easy. It's actually about creating a space that's safe enough for what we call productive struggle. This is that sweet spot, right? Where students are working on things that are hard but still achievable. It's where they can make mistakes and know it's all part of the process. And this is so critical because this is where the real, deep learning happens, the kind that sticks. Okay, so if we've managed to create this safe space for productive struggle, what does that actually look like from the student's perspective? Well, you can see it in 4 key pillars of student behavior. These are the things you can actually observe that tell you, hey, this is working.
This table is where the rubber really meets the road. You don't just hope for constructive talk, right? You see it when students are using sentence stems to debate a character's motives. Peer support isn't some vague goal. It's a student turning to their partner to explain a math concept before raising their hand for you. These pillars turn our big goals into real, observable actions.
All right, so how do we as educators actually build a classroom where those 4 pillars are just the norm? This next section is all about the practical tools. These are the strategies you can start using right away to intentionally engineer that supportive culture.
First up, fostering that meaningful, constructive talk. And the key word here is structure. Let's be real, rich academic conversation rarely just happens by accident. It happens because we provide clear routines that guide students into those discussions.
Let's take the classic think, pair, share. It's so simple, but it's incredibly powerful. That think time gives everyone a second to actually process the question. The pair step gives them a low-stakes way to try out their ideas, and only then do we share with the whole class. A simple routine like this guarantees that every single student is participating.
And to really elevate that talk, we can give them sentence stems. Think of these as training wheels for academic language. They just give students the structure they need to talk like a historian, or a mathematician, or a scientist. It's such a simple tool, but it makes complex thinking accessible to everybody.
Next up, how do we get students to see each other as learning resources? Well, we engineer it. A system like Ask 3 Before Me can completely change the dynamic of the room. When you assign roles in a group, everyone has a job. And when you design tasks where kids actually need each other to succeed, peer support becomes a necessity, not just a suggestion.
Now this might be the most important mindset shift of all. Just look at the difference here. Saying that's not correct basically shuts down the conversation. But a response like, ooh, interesting thinking, let's explore that. It opens everything up. It tells the student your brain is valued here, even if the answer isn't perfect yet. This is how we make mistakes feel safe.
Okay, so you've put these strategies into practice, but how do you actually know if they're working? In this last section, we're going to look for the tangible, visible signs of a thriving, supportive classroom.
A great place to start is just by looking at the walls. But I'm not talking about those perfect store-bought posters. The most powerful stuff is the stuff that's created with the students. Things like anchor charts filled with their handwriting, or a word wall with their examples. These aren't just decorations, they're public records of your shared learning. They scream the message, your ideas matter here. Success is also visible in your daily routines. When you see students doing peer conferencing, you are literally watching them build feedback skills in real time. When they hold up whiteboards for a quick check, you're seeing a culture where it's okay to be wrong. These aren't just activities, they are the very bedrock of your classroom culture.
And this slide really brings it all home.
In just a 10-minute snapshot of a classroom, you can see the entire system working together. Notice how it's all aligned. What the students do, like trying out answers publicly, is directly connected to what the teacher does, like praising the process. And it's all happening in an environment that's physically set up to make it all possible. It's like a beautiful symphony of intentional design.
So if you take one thing away today, let it be this. A supportive, risk-taking, academically rich classroom culture doesn't just happen by chance. You can't just wish for it. It is the direct result of careful, thoughtful, consistent design. It's something you build, one routine and one response at a time.
And that brings us to the final thought, really a question for you. This is not about doing a massive overhaul overnight. It's about taking small, powerful steps. So, looking back at everything we've talked about, what's one routine, one small strategy? What's one thing you could try in your classroom tomorrow?